The internet has made starting a business so much easier. This is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because people like you who have really important passions and talents to share with the world now can with fewer restrictions compared to what it was like before the internet was really popular. The curse, though, is that a lot of markets are saturated out there now that it's really easy to start a business. Don't let a saturated market turn you off from marketing your business to the best of your ability. What you need to do is make sure that you're marketing yourself so that you are unforgettable. This episode features Angela Garcia of Cove Creative. She helps her clients create captivating brands that help them stand out from the crowd and position them as an expert in their marketplace. She has quite an unforgettable brand as well. In this episode, she shares the differences between unforgettable brands and forgettable brands and what you can do to use what's already inside you to stand out in the crowd and so that your perfect ideal clients can see you. This is Unforgettable Online Marketing, and I am your host, Tara Wilder. On this show, we share practical online marketing tips and strategies for virtual business owners like yourself that you can use to attract your ideal client, engage them, nurture a relationship with them, and convert them into leads and paying clients. Now, this episode with Angela Garcia was actually a Facebook Live that we did inside of the Facebook group Unforgettable Entrepreneurs Society, and it's actually an edited version. So if you want to see the whole thing and also see other exclusive interviews that are not being published to the podcast, make sure you join us there. The links are in the show notes, the link is in the show notes at unforgettableonlinemarketing.com/12, because this is episode 12, or you can just search Facebook for the Unforgettable Entrepreneurs Society. Also, all the links that we mention in the episode will be in the show notes. All right, let's get started. I'm so excited to have you here today because we're talking about something that's really, really important. There are so many businesses out there that offer the same products and services. Like, let's be real, what we're providing is not that unique, but what makes it unique is us and our way of providing it in our brands. And it's really important that we're really intentional about our messaging and our branding, which is why I'm so excited to have you on right now, because you really do have an unforgettable brand, truly.
Oh, thank you so much. But if you guys don't know me, I am a branding and web designer. I pretty much work with really badass visionary women to create a brand and business around their passion. And something that I'm super passionate about is helping women create a brand that's truly reflective of them so that they can actually stand out and be seen in their market. Because like you were saying, especially in the coaching industry, there is no barrier. There's no entry barrier, meaning anyone and everyone can be a coach, right? And that creates a lot of noise because while there's experts in the field, there's people that are just starting out that maybe don't really know the ropes yet. And it's like how to distinguish from like the people that really know what they're talking about and what they're doing versus like people that, are still kind of getting the foot in the ground, which is fine. We all start from somewhere, right? We all start from the beginning. So it's not putting anyone down or saying that it's like bad to start. But when you're actually positioned as an expert and when you have a brand that like stands out and builds authority, that's when people become magnetized to you. So this is what I work with my clients. And it's a really beautiful and creative process. And it's also always focused around you. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that makes you unique is you. Because no one else is like you. You have a unique personality, a set of gifts. You're the only person that can do things the way that you do it. No one else can do it the exact same way. And that's why the coaching industry is also so beautiful, because we all have unique gifts and those gifts are medicine to other people. And there are people out there only needing you. You are the right person for them. No one else can help them the way you can. And they need to be able to see you and find you to know that you're there for them, right? So that's what branding is all about. So tell me a little bit more about like what you want to focus on, because there is so much when it comes to branding that I want to make sure that I'm really giving you guys what you need.
Yeah. And I'm really well, let me respond to one thing that you said there, which it was such a good introduction and such a good foundation or introduction to who you are and what you do in your business and good foundational information for why this is so important in the first place. And I just love what you said. You said your gift is their medicine, basically. And I mean, that's how kind of how you said it, right? That was so beautiful. And something I really want to stress, and you said it at the end of that too, is that yes, there are people who are still learning the ropes and like getting started, but that doesn't mean that you're not valuable. You're just at a different stage in your business.
Exactly. And that's what's key. And it's really owning the stage that you're at. Because, like, it's true. We only need to be a few steps ahead of the people that we're working with, but we need to be really clear about that. Like, for example, if you're just starting out, don't and if you're a business coach, don't help people create their first 10K month if you've never created a 10K month. It's being congruent. It's being in integrity with where you are and the actual results you can get for people. So it's not about hyping yourself up and making this like, I can do this really great thing. It's like, hey, like this is actually what I help people. Like, yeah, I just started, but this is what I've created for myself and this is what I can create for other people. That's still a congruent, that's still an integrity, and you can become a leader in that field. Not everyone is marketing to the same people. There's people that are targeting people that are still in 9-to-5s. There's people that are targeting brand new entrepreneurs. There's people that are helping newer entrepreneurs, like people that have been in business, create their first 5K months, 10K months. And then there's people that are already at 50, 100K that need a completely different type of support. Mm-hmm. So there's space for everyone, but you have to be clear in what you do and what makes you unique, because that's what stands out.
Thank you. There's nothing wrong with trying to get people or helping people get their first 4K month even,
First 1K is incredible when you're like at zero, like, oh my God, I made my first $1,000. Like, that's the best feeling ever.
I definitely meant 4-figure, by the way. But yeah, like.
4-figure, yeah, same. Every single stage, right? When you first hit that 1K, 5K, 10K, we're like, oh my God. And then it's like, okay, now like, yeah, 10K is easy. Now let's get that 20K. And that's like a completely different size.
Yeah. I just want to underline the point, as long as you're a few steps ahead of who you want to serve, you already have something of value to give. Now, just because you have something of value to give doesn't mean that that's going to translate online and offline as well. That's where your marketing and messaging and branding comes into play. Now, I want to start at the very, very beginning and ask you, what is a brand? And I ask this because I know you know this, that a lot of people just go, oh, a brand is a logo. And you and I and many people watching this or listening to this know that it's more than that. So can you define what brand means to you?
Yeah, definitely. So I love this question. Thank you for asking it.
Yeah.
Branding is so much more than a logo, your color palette, your fonts. Branding is, how can I describe it? Because there's so many different ideas. Like if you look it up on Google, it's completely different. But this is my personal definition of what a brand is. A brand is your story, your gifts, your message, and your visuals all combined into one cohesive story. So what does this mean? A brand showcases who you are, what you do, who you help, how you help them. That combines with your own personal story, combining your unique gifts and the visuals that represent you and your personality. Mm-hmm. That is a brand. And if you add the second part of the brand, which is the messaging piece, and that is how you speak to people, your message and your copy, that is still branding. That is still your brand. Yeah, it's marketing because we're using it to market, to attract clients and get clients, but that is part of your brand because the way you speak to people, your tone, your tonality, your language, that is part of your brand because that is who you are. Especially here, I don't know who your target audience is. Mine are coaches. I work with personal brands. Mm-hmm. Personal brands meaning your brand is you. Right? So it's beautiful because that means that it's easy for us to talk and explain and just create our brand message because it's pretty much how we naturally talk and express ourselves. but it's adding the business part, which is like, what are like the brand keywords? Like, what are the languaging that I use? Like, are you a, hey, unicorn, blah, 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 blah. No, there's like those type of people, and I love them, and they're all about magic and witchcraft, and, how to create, a cauldron that brews content every week. Like, that's messaging, and that is a brand. Because that woman that has the witchery, the hey unicorn, her brand, people know her for that. That is a brand. A brand at the end of the day is when you walk out of the room, what do people say about you? That's the brand.
Yes. Oh my gosh. One of my favorite quotes actually is, I think it was Jeff Bezos who said it. Your brand is what people say when you're not in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. Love
Yeah.
that. I don't know who say it. I'm super bad at remembering the names, but like that is one thing that really stood out for me, because your brand is based on your values, your personality, how you help people. And at the end of the day, people will remember what you stand for. And that is why I feel a lot of brands become forgettable. And that is because there's no depth to it. There's no substance that people can grasp onto. When you can give people something to stand behind, to stand with you, because you declare yourself as, I help people like this is what I'm passionate about, this is my mission, that gets people behind you. I went to a beautiful conference one day, and the woman that was speaking, she's an incredible copywriter. She said, like, what's the hill you're willing to die on? Like, she was like getting a little warm in here, but like, what are you willing to die for? Like, what is your message? What do you want to be known for? That's what you want your brand to be built on. That's your brand foundation.
Yeah. And something, I thought was also beautifully said, and I would love to know what you think of this. A lot of times I see people, let me think of how I want to phrase this. They'll see other really successful coaches. And by the way, yes, we're talking to coaches, creatives, and consultants here. So it's totally in alignment. Yeah, so I see them wanting to emulate a certain person out there because they see that person's really, really successful. And then they see, like, in terms of how much revenue they're generating, and then they see that people are really resonating with their brand. So they say, okay, well, then I'm going to just emulate what she's doing. And it's fine. It's fine to like take inspiration from somewhere, but they want to be just like her because they're seeing it's working, when in reality, that's not them though. So have you ever experienced something like that before?
100%. It's so interesting that you mentioned that, because that is what, like, it seems easy, right? Oh my God, they have the secret formula. They're doing what I want to be doing. They seem to be successful. First of all, you don't really know if that person is successful. And there's this whole thing about people talking, I had 100K launch, and it's like, amazing. You made 100K. Mm-hmm. And there's a thing. What works for one person won't necessarily work for you. Yes, there's a ton of strategies out there. Yes, most of those strategies, all of those, this is the thing, every single strategy that's out there will work. All of them will work for the right people. That's the exact thing. And that's also a thing about business coaches and any type of coach. It's like, whatever you go through is your experience. You get success with that, and then you teach that because that's what you learned. Here's the thing. That's why you have to be really specific in your content. And that when you're looking for coaches, that you're finding someone that's actually compatible to you and that really speaks to you. Because if you're like just wanting to imitate that person and their strategy, that might not necessarily work for you if that's not exactly what you want and the type of person that you want to be. And this kind of like, to take it back to branding. Branding should focus on the whole being, because we are so much more than our business. And if you're creating a personal brand, that means a person, personal person. Focus on the person. You're more than, oh, I help people with XYZ. Like, who is that? Like, who are you? Like, share your personal story. Share the things that you do every day. Share what you love, what you're passionate about. Make sure that your story is part of your brand, because at the end of the day, that's actually what magnetizes and attracts people to you.
Yeah, especially in like this consumer culture, and especially in the United States and Western countries, like we're constantly being promoted or advertised something. There are companies out there all hustling to get our money. And so it's really easy to just tune out businesses. What people really want is connection. And I think that when you focus on your brand and making it something that'll really connect with the person, and then if you're a personal brand, like really showing yourself, that's how you make the connection with people. That's what they want. They just want to connect.
At the end of the day, like this is what I say, at the end of the day, people just want to be seen, heard, and understood. So like make sure that when you're talking to people, like don't worry about the likes or the comments or blah blah blah. Actually engage. Like it's so interesting. I had a coach when I was first starting my business, and I was like, how do you get my first client? And it's like, are you talking to people? Are you actually like, I don't care about how many comments you have. I don't care about how many likes you have. How many people do you have in your DMs right now that you're talking to and creating a connection with? That is what people want. That's what actually will get you clients. Yes, the posts are important because they need to see you and know what you're about. But if you're still not really getting the results that you want, ask yourself, are you really connecting with people? Is your brand connecting with people? Is your message connecting with people? Like if you were to hear that, would you resonate with that? Like would you hear like, oh, like that's me? Do you identify with that? Because that's when people buy. People buy when they can relate. When they read something, they're like, oh my God, that's me. That's exactly what's going on with me. You're like, you're a light. Like to create an unforgettable brand, you have to become a lighthouse. Like this bright light, this like kind of like a hope. Like, you know, like imagine like your ideal client is kind of walking through this dark tunnel and they're like, oh my God, I'm stuck here. I don't know what to do. I'm kind of confused. I want to go here, but I don't know how. How do I do this? And they're just walking down this path. And then they see advertisements everywhere, right? There's like all the walls are filled with like, do this, and this is how you can do blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And they're like noise, like, oh my God, what do I do? What, you have to be that light that it's like, oh my God, yes, like you get me. That's what really creates an unforgettable brand.
Really. It's when you're really, really specific with your message too. I feel like you can't really, somebody can't really connect with you and be like, you can't be that lighthouse for them. I love the lighthouse analogy or metaphor, unless you're really specific. But if you're just like, oh, I design websites for people and I design visual brands for people, that's not very specific. That's maybe the service I want, but it doesn't really connect. You have to be the light, like connect to my other pain points and desires as well, which is a part of that, I think. So I'm listening to this conversation as somebody who feels that I'm not saying, I don't feel that I'm a forgettable brand, but I'm putting myself in the shoes of somebody who may be listening, who feels like they're a forgettable brand. They're hearing all of this. They're going, okay, messaging, positioning, being clear on who my target market is, visual brand, all of that is great. Where the heck do I even start? Where do I even start to create something like that? Because a lot of it is kind of intangible. Like, what is messaging? I mean, I know, but how would you respond to somebody who's like, I have no idea where to even begin with all this?
Okay, yeah, definitely. Ooh, love this. I could go on and on and on about this, but I'm going to try to keep it really brief and give you guys some, like, for everyone listening, some really valuable key points that you can take away right now. If you're at a point in your life and business, especially in your business and in your brand, that you feel it's not clear, that it's not powerful, dig deep. Like literally I always tell my clients, branding starts with inner work. It's like not about like, yeah, let's create that pretty logo. No, let's dive deep into what's actually in your heart and in your soul. So I start with what I call your brand foundation. And the first thing that I would start with is get really clear on your mission. Like, what's your mission? What do you really want to create? And like really ask yourself and sit with it. Like, what is that dream that you have? Like, what is your 10-year, 20-year? What do you, like, when you die, what do you want to be known for, right? What is that mission that you are here for? I don't know if you guys are into the woo and into the spiritual. I know I am, and that's part of my brand. But if you want to go into the woo side, at the end of the day, we are a soul, right? And our soul came here for a purpose. So ask yourself, what is that purpose? what were you sent on earth for? So that's for all my woo kids out there. And if we want to keep it a little bit more down to earth and real, like what's that mission? The second thing would be, what is the vision? What do you envision for that business, for that brand? Like, and that all starts with your why. Why are you doing it? Why are you passionate about it? Like, why do you get out of bed every day? Why? Like, actually ask yourself why. And I would ask yourself why. I have my clients do this, and I do this with all my clients 8 times. My clients get frustrated with me after 3. I'm like, okay, what are you doing this? Blah, blah, blah. Why? And they're like, blah, blah, blah. No, why? Like deeper, 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 pretty much until you're in tears. Like, go so deep that you like legit feel it in your heart. Like, oh my God, this is my why. Too.
Right. And so then do you find that forgettable brands are people who are not really, or businesses that aren't really clear on
they're either not clear on it, or they're not embodying it. They're not speaking about it. Because like, you can have the biggest, also like when you actually connect to it, the way that you show up is different. Because this is what I always tell any single entrepreneur at the end of the day, when we're so stuck in, oh, I didn't get the likes, and oh, I don't want to do the video because my hair is a mess, or I don't have my makeup on. At the end of the day, it's not about you. If you're in a service-based business, okay, only for service-based businesses, I would speak to about this. It's not about you. No one cares. What they care about is how you can help them. They don't care if your hair is a mess. They don't care if you don't have makeup on. They don't care that you don't have everything put together. They only care if can you help them with their problem, yes or no. At the end of the day, that's what matters, because that's what you're here to do. And if you're a coach or a service-based provider, what you do is create epic transformations for people. So what distinguishes like a good coach from like an unforgettable coach from like maybe a forgettable coach is someone that can actually create transformation. Like, can you actually create transformations for people? If you can, ground yourself in that value, because that is what speaks to people. Like, and that is when people become really confident. Like, confidence is one thing. First of all, confidence isn't something that you're born with, something that you create. And it's something that you create by taking action. And it's something that you do repeatedly. It builds. It is like, it's a muscle that you flex, right? The more you do it, the more confident you get. Every single person that you see out there, you're like, oh my God, like even like, dude, Beyonce, like how she was rejected how many times? How long does she take to practice for like a 1-hour show? Like months. So don't expect things to just happen overnight. It takes work. It takes taking action. And if you really want to become unforgettable, you have to own it. That's what actually separates the leaders, is because they own what they do. They own their power. They're not afraid to tell people about what they do. They're not afraid to make sales. They're not afraid to tell people about like, hey, I can actually transform your life, and be 100% confident in that. That is what actually makes you unforgettable, is the confidence and the way you carry yourself, because you are grounded in your value and the power that you have in helping someone transform their life. So that is something that I would talk about for someone that feels like that their brand is a little not as strong as they want it to be. I would just, for everyone listening, if this is you, not that there's anything wrong with that, but what I would really focus on is really journaling about it, or really diving into like, what is the actual transformation you help people with? How valuable is it? And get really confident in it and own it. And get really clear on your why and what you're passionate about it. Because when you start to connect with that mission, when you start to connect with that soul's calling, that purpose, the way that you show up is different. Your content changes. The way you speak changes. When you're on a sales call with someone, your confidence rises because you know, right? So that is something that I would get really clear on, is getting that mission, that vision, that why. What are your gifts? How do you help people? Just connect with that And then the second thing that I would really focus on for everyone that's listening is, who is that ideal client? And I know that everyone's like, oh my God, ideal client. I already did that exercise a year ago or a month ago. Well, guess what? Do it again. You should know your ideal client like the back of your hand. And I don't mean about, oh, her name is Sally and she shops at Free People and she has a dog and she lives by the ocean. Like, okay, that's great. But that's actually not what you want to know when it comes to your ideal client. What you want to know is, what's their personality? What are their biggest fears? What are her biggest insecurities? What are her actual goals? What are her passions? What does she stand for? Where is she at her life right now? What things is she looking for? Like, what are her goals? Like, that's actually what we want. Because like, yeah, like if your ideal client is Sally and she's 5'4" and she's blonde, I bet there's a lot of 5'4" blondes that live in California and have a dog and live by the beach that are coaches. Okay, that's really not specific enough. Get really specific. And also, when it comes to ideal clients, our ideal clients are always shifting because we're shifting. And when we shift, the people that we're helping shifts. So every time you feel that you've gone through an up leveling or you go through a massive shift in your life and your business, take a look again at who is your ideal client, because that person might have shifted. So that is one thing that I do really want to focus on, is like really targeting and making sure that your brand is specific, especially your content, that is actually speaking to people's pain points, struggles, vision, their goals. Like, make sure that you're always answering the question, like how you can help them, because at the end of the day, that's what people want to hear.
Yes. It's really, I mean, not even just in business, but in general, people care a lot less about you than you realize. They're
Oh,
much more concerned with themselves.
100%. Like, that's what I'm like saying. Like, that's the way I love that one quote. Like, it's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah.
And like, even like, okay, here's another thing, a really quick tip on your online presence, your social media, your website. Your website is not about you. Yeah, you need to have an about page, but it's not about you. The purpose of a website is, when someone hops on, can they see if you can help them? It's about them. It's about how you can help them. And the only reason why your story is in it is it gives someone an example of what you went through, to see if you are the right person to take them through that experience.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So I always like to wrap these up with asking, what is one thing that people listening can do to implement what it is that you've talked about today? Now, that's so broad, because there's so much that we've talked about, and there's just so much to do, and it depends on where people are at. So what would you say people should do to really start examining their brand? What's the first thing?
Okay, definitely. This is a hard question because it depends on what stage you're at with your brand. But I would start by actually take an evaluation of your brand. Like, look at your website, look at your Instagram, look at your Facebook, look at your content. Is it cohesive? Like, actually ask yourself and be brutally, brutally honest. Does it look the same everywhere? Is there a visual brand? Like, is there something that identifies you? What is the messaging? Like, is your messaging consistent? Does this actually speak to your ideal client? Is this answering the questions of what do you do, who do you help, how do you help them? Is that answering those questions? So I would always start out with that. If you want to dig a little deeper, I can, but I don't know, that's probably would be like my biggest thing, is like actually do an evaluation. Yeah. Actually, like, ask yourself. And also, like, if you're a personal brand and you want to infuse more of you, ask yourself, am I in this brand? First of all, is that important to you? Which I would probably say, yes, it's very important. But second of all, is your brand actually showcasing you? Are you in there?
You know, you actually, I wanted to give this example later, and this is kind of a good time to do it, I think, about really being you and showcasing who you are I, authentically, but I giggle at that word because it's so overused nowadays, but really being true to who you are. A really good example is actually you earlier in this conversation when you were sharing something and then you said, and for my woo people out there, we're all souls. And then you continued to say that, right? That is one thing that made you unforgettable because now people who are into the woo woo space and woo woo world, they're like, oh my gosh, she knows, she's enlightened like me, or whatever they're going to think, right? So now they've made that connection with you, and if you were a lighthouse for them before, you're definitely shining bright in their face now. So that was a really, really good example of being who you are and owning it and speaking it.
Yeah, that's like another really key thing that I want everyone here, everyone listening or watching to take away is really own who you are.
Well, that was a really, really good, Angela. And I know that you and I could talk about this all day because we're just so passionate about what it is that we do. And then also about the people that we serve too. That's kind of why we're in service businesses. So I just thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And from what I understand, you have something that you wanted to offer to everybody listening, watching this right now. Is that right?
Yes, I do. So super excited about the two things that I actually have two, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
One of them is I am running a 5-day branding challenge. It is really, really epic for anyone that is in the middle of creating their brand, wanting to refine their brand, or just want a little bit of support in creating their brand foundation. So it's 5 days. We go from establishing your brand foundation to your ideal client to actually creating your mood board and color palette. It's really epic. It's just on a you just get an email every day with the instructions and the homework. You can message me and I will support you throughout the whole thing. So that is a 5-day branding challenge. I'll guys put the link in the comments for you guys to get that. And the second thing is for anyone watching or listening, I'm offering a 60-minute brand breakthrough call. So if you want personalized support from me to establish where you're at now in your brand, where you want to be, and the steps that you can get to get there, this is completely pitch free, just completely valuable support. Either implement from what I have to say, or I will direct you to whatever you actually need to be doing to support your brand. So just send me a message. You can follow me on Instagram at by.angelagarcia or on Facebook, Angela Garcia, and send me a message if you want one of those.
That's really, really valuable. And is that call free or is there a charge for it?
Both of those offers are free.
That's ridiculous. A 60-minute free strategy call. That's amazing. You guys go take her up on that. And I was actually going to ask you where they can come play with you. So that's great. And I'll also put all that information in the comments. Your website is soulcovecreative.com, right?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Oh my gosh, that's really valuable. Thank you so much for offering that to everybody. Guys, I mean, we can create digital products all day long, and those are really, really valuable. But I think what's even more valuable than all that is time. Time is very important. So
that's actually what I charge my, like, pretty much people work with you for your time and your personalized attention. So definitely if you're wanting one of those breakthrough calls, send me a message like as soon as possible because I can only schedule in a few weeks. Yeah. So if you want one of those soon, let me know ASAP.
All right. Thank you so much, Angela, for being here today. Thanks to everybody else, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Wasn't that incredible? If you want to get all the links that we mentioned, just go to unforgettableonlinemarketing.com/12. Again, this was a Facebook Live that we did inside of the Facebook group Unforgettable Entrepreneurs Society, and I invite you to join us. So just search Facebook for Unforgettable Entrepreneurs Society or go to the show notes and click the link there. I'll see you next week on Unforgettable Online Marketing.